And we are back, just a couple minutes late, but not too far off.
Yeah, hello everyone. We are back. We are here, and this is so exciting because we have the grand finals of the LiveCTF tournament at the DEF CON CTF finals. We have Team Maple Mallard Magistrates versus HypeBoy. This is going to be really exciting. A fun fact is that the player playing for HypeBoy is the person. So we did this for the first time last year, and the person who went all the way and won last year, his nickname is
Z2W2M2.
Right, and so he is the person who won last year. So we have kind of like the LiveCTF champion,
returning champion, yeah, absolutely.
Versus like MMM, who are just such an amazing team, right? Yep. So there's like two giants facing off here, and I think we're gonna get started very soon.
So let's just wait a little bit. I think we're gonna get ready. We're gonna make sure we get some power cables connected and get into it.
So let's
and we have seen again we talked about on HypeBoy, we have Z2W2M2 coming back as the sort of returning champion, and they made it through the first year where single elimination was even more stressful, even harder. Yep. It's worth pointing out, though, they also made it through undefeated in this round, too. So they have never lost in LiveCTF, which is kind of crazy, right? Like, if you were to look over all the matches over 2 years, really great. But on the other side, we have, like, the sort of pair programming team from Maple Mallard Magistrates, because we've had them swapping out between Robert and we've had them swapping into Jinmo, two of their players. And we told both both teams that this was an X64 shell coding challenge.
Right.
And so they kind of used that hint to decide who to send. They decided Jinmo was gonna be it. Sounds like we're ready to go. So we'll give them the countdown.
Yes. So we are gonna start the grand finals in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh my God, this is so exciting.
So this challenge, what do we know about it?
Yes, so we did a little bit, we're getting with the times and so on. So the big thing this summer has, of course, been two movies that have come out. So in not the previous match, but the match before, we had a challenge House of Barbie, which was a heap challenge. A bit of a play on the whole House of heap thing, right?
Heap challenge.
So
solutions.
Now we're following this up with Noppenheimer.
Noppenheimer. And you came up with a name. Suggested it before we even had an idea for the challenge. So Noppenheimer is the challenge. There's going to be a board. You saw it there briefly on HypeBoy's screen. There's a random bit of memory that's a random generated bytes. You've got 16 columns wide. You've got 256 long. And we thought, what better thing to do than to nop some bombs, some explosions onto the board. So like a battleship or like a challenge where you have to pick an XY coordinate. You choose where you want to write. By the way, I love that they just ran it first thing, just to look at it, because this is a good one. You can really understand everything you need to know. Everything you need to know, like no reverse engineering. You look at this and you know immediately what you need to do.
Right. Although I do want to quickly look at MMM screen. We might not see it. Maybe they switched back to the terminal. But I did see that they very crucially ran the check-sec program, which will list what kind of mitigations, protections. And I think one that could be of interest is that there's no pi. So I don't think it's in our reference solution.
If someone makes assumptions, or if they think it's randomized or it's not randomized, you could either make them make an invalid solution or make a solution that's far harder than it needs to be.
Right.
If they know what changes have been made to the binary, what protections are built into it, is it going to be randomized or not?
Right. And we can see here that the player is kind of recreating basically the algorithm of this challenge. So they are so what we do, right, we generate one page of random data. And the player here is recreating the same randomization using the same seed and dumping this into a file.
And speaking of seeds, right, that particular seed, if you actually look at the decompilation, is the date of the Trinity test that's featured in the movie Oppenheimer. So there's a lot of little inside references. I don't think they're going to notice any of that. They're going to be so focused on what they need to do. That's fine. It made us chuckle when we made it.
Yeah, it's we're just having some fun.
So we've already got HypeBoy over here with their interactive script able to interact with it, to extract those values out. So they're already able to pull this out. Although really pulling it kind of once and then figuring out your solution is going to be the tricky part.
Right.
So we're going to see, are they going to this SH64-1. So I assume that's a 64-bit shellcode. They've got their payload.
Yeah.
They want to find, and sure enough, yeah, they're writing up a find script. So they're going to look for the bytes within there. Now, it's worth noting, though, I don't think I've seen anyone actually, they may have done it because they're very fast, but I don't see anyone actually trigger the sort of test explosion, right? Because the pattern, and we debated this even as we were writing it, what was it going to look like when you sort of like targeted a spot?
Yeah, and I think they're also, because so what we do is, like I said, we have a page of random data, and you can kind of like do a test on one of these, on the coordinates. So we organize this in a 16 by 256.
Yes, yeah, one page of memory. So it's 1K, right? So 16 by
256. 1K, not one, right. Not one. Well, it depends on your size
4K,
of your
4K, one. Yeah.
Anyway, so this is a two-dimensional grid. That's the point. And you can choose a coordinate, and it will put a NOP instruction on that coordinate, but also on each coordinate to the left, right, above, and below that. So it's like a small little cross.
Little explosion. Yeah. We debated trying to do like a bigger kind of blast pattern, and we just decided complexity wasn't worth it. We wanted to kind of keep. Oh, there we go. We've got a nuke offset over there. We saw briefly. So there's the code actually has the nuke offset. So I'm glad that because it just says, I think, launch, view, and end test in the actual service itself. I really appreciate that they get the reference, at least, because they did name their function nuke, so they are aware of that.
Yeah. So this is basically going to be about, how can you find some of these bytes and make use of them, and like creating like NOP instructions around them, so you only get the useful stuff remaining.
Yes, and so again, this is not your shellcode payload that you start with isn't actually the payload you're ever going to be able to run, because a default x64 shellcode payload is going to have lots of multi-byte sequences that are unlikely to show up in this random page. What you really are going to have to do is some sort of stager or some sort of like operation that you'll then be able to leverage to put your actual kind of shellcode later. So we're really looking to see them, you're going to look for like 1 or 2 byte opcodes, right? That's really what you kind of want to see. We're already, I love like how fast they are into it though, because we're
seeing some automation here. They're like doing a lot of inputs to do all these tests. I see a lot of
NOPs back out, so I'm not sure whether they're...
Are they restarting? Also not entirely sure what's going on there.
Oh no, so we did have a function named nuke, right? So I think that's where we got the code. The launch menu actually triggers the nuke function, so it makes sense that they would name it similarly.
Right.
I think we're going to see. Right now, they're assuming it's the simplest, and they can just pinpoint individual bytes. I don't yet know because once they realize that they don't control an exact byte, and as well as that they've got to like, I don't know. We'll see. I would think that they would have realized that the exact pattern of shellcode is unlikely to be buried in there, especially with just kind of a random page with a random seed that was sort of an in-joke in our case. They could assume that we picked a particular seed for a particular payload.
Right.
We picked not for the payload, but for the seed itself to be able to make that sort of joke.
I think the what was I going to say? I was going to switch over to MMM and see if we can see here that they are running this in a debugger. And I saw before, we'll see if we see them again. They were looking a little bit, I think, at the registers at the time of calling the shellcode, because like you might get something for free there by having some convenient value in some register,
or even not even just for free, but just knowing in general like the state of things, and then knowing where you need to go to either be able to get more more bytes in there, or to call an existing function, or to jump to other existing code, like whatever you're going to do.
And also there's something, I think, so as you said, like very unlikely to show up some of these sequences. Like we do give them a good chunk of data, but it's not like that big that you would have interesting
4,000 bytes. I will say we just saw a really brief from hex, like Google search for from hex Python, and it warms my heart, because even these people who are an order of magnitude faster and better than me still have to look at documentation. It does happen. Now again, HypeBoy did it so fast that you couldn't even see it. We couldn't even switch over to it in time.
Yeah, we're trying to we're watching both of the screens here. We're trying to switch over and show you all of the URLs, the interesting things.
But by the time they've done it,
sometimes it's just too fast.
And these two especially, again, these are the two that have made it the furthest in the competition. They've won the most matches. They are two of the fastest hackers in the world. Like I don't think there's any question that in terms of like raw hacking speed,
it's absolutely insane. And I think it's really cool here. So So we are here at the CTF floor at DEF CON, like right next to all the teams, and I think we are getting to the very end of the.
Yeah, there is actually. I think it's either done now or just in a few more minutes. The actual end of the game.
So we have a lot of the teams now just standing up and watching the finals, the live stream, which I think is really cool to see that there is an interest for this, a kind of excitement around this.
And maybe a little bit of they're glad that they're not the ones
all
on the line being spectated and watching what they're doing.
Relief.
Yeah. So I do see on the right, by the way, here on HypeBoy now, we've got an actual disassembly chunk, and that's really, I think, what you're going to want to do. You definitely, one of the keys to solving this is certainly, at least in our playtest, where find out what's there. You need to find all the possible opcodes you can get currently.
Although, so one very key nuanced thing here is that this is disassembled using one particular alignment of this, but since x86 is like a variable length instruction architecture, you might want to insert 1 byte of NOP to, and look at what if the instruction started next byte.
You should be dumping your disassembly at every offset.
Right.
Those are your candidate instructions that you're going to have to look for and to find some sequence that will let you get the job. Oh, there we go. I saw that over on Jinmo's screen.
Yeah, let's switch over there. We have a output ROP gadget.
Which does exactly that. It is going to, well, actually, it's going to look, does ROP gadget work on just disassembly? Oh, no, they're looking for actual gadgets in the binary, but you actually need that same kind of approach on the shell code.
So what I think he was doing, I'm not 100% sure we might see it, is that he dumped the whole blob to a file and then ran ROP gadgets on this raw file to get the gadgets that will...
And that will give you all the offsets. That is going to check everything.
Oh, actually, that's true, but they're not actually ROP gadgets because they don't end in a ret instruction. This is shell code gadgets.
And there may be...
maybe they have a thing for that?
Maybe there's a setting in. We could barely see the command that actually ran, so we'll have to go back and...
That's very interesting.
All right, so we're over in HypeBoy land. We've got our C2W2M2. I need to be able to say it faster, Mr. How to say it quickly.
I think it's one of those. It's Korean. HypeBoy is the Korean
HypeBoy is a Korean team.
So I've seen this. I think this is like a. I don't know well enough about it, but this thing with numbers, it's not
for some letters.
It's not just random. It means something. But unfortunately, my knowledge is not good enough there.
Next year, a Korean caster for LiveCTF, so we can.
Yeah, or just kind of like a small biography of the players.
That's true.
Or,
we should make them do that.
Yeah.
So I did see. Looking at that, look at all those gadgets I found. Those are not the right gadgets. That's not what you want to do because those were all limited by jumps or returns at the end of every one of those lines.
Right.
So this is indeed sort of not a great. I mean, it's close to the right idea, but that's actually limiting a lot of what you can get. You can do a lot more than that because you're not running a piece and then returning. You're just going to run them all sequentially. Whatever you've left over after you knopped a bunch is what's going to get run.
Yes, this is shell code or machine code, not ROP chain. Important distinction there. I think it just seems like they're just searching around for various words, right?
So I guess they will see all instructions at all offsets, maybe eventually. I don't know. There may be.
Well, if you make ROP gadget output long enough gadgets, but I think you can filter how long because sooner or later there will be. Well, that's still kind of unlikely. So
I don't know. How does ROP gadget handle things like invalid opcodes or exception?
Right.
Yeah. So it still seems a little dicey, and it would have been the work of a few seconds just to throw it into Capstone or any other kind of disassembler.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, of course, HypeBoy, we've got them over here using, I actually haven't seen this one, Diffuse.ca has just an online assembler or disassembler. So they're using that to just look at a couple. They're kind of more in the bespoke process. And so, again, it looked like, though, they're running into the same kind of limits. You know what actually I didn't do? I might actually step aside and just go find out. I don't know the hints for this challenge, so unless you know what they are, I might go talk to the production crew and get a hint as to the hints, so we know what they're going to be.
We'll have you go and just check what the hints are going to be when they come back, and in the meantime, I will keep steering the ship. We are going to switch back over to MMM and see. They are looking in the what's the file name of their one? I think that's the dumped. Right. So I think it seems like they switched over from using ROP gadget to more like looking at the disassembly of the dumped bytes. We also though see some debugging going on here, checking the contents of the stack. So maybe figuring out if that could be useful. So still haven't quite seen any of the players like actually trying to start building anything. I think it's very much still in like kind of like the analysis and exploration phase of this, and it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of approach they are actually going to go for, and what method to actually solve the challenge. As I think Jordan mentioned before, you might be able to do like the full shellcode directly by nopping in the correct places. I think a probably easier solution would be, as we mentioned, like you do a small stager shellcode, maybe like a read syscall onto right after where you're currently located in the execution, and then that continue, and then you push just your actual shellcode in that like second stage, which would then give you the shell. I mean, there are of course multiple different approaches in this, but I think that would be probably the easiest one. But we'll see what the players are up to. Switching back over to HypeBoy, we can see a little bit of scripting going on here in their exploit script. This looks like they were setting up a couple of different interactions with the launch, so doing different of these noppings, and they're printing out. You can see this. There was a large block of nops going on there. So maybe there was something interesting like in the middle of the region, and they wanted to just skip that whole part and go down into the middle. You can see there are like different regions there in their script. They're like starting doing ranges at different offsets. So you can see them highlighting this 5e byte here, for example, which is, I think, one of the bytes that they had in their assembled code before. Yeah, but now we have Jordan back with some information from production.
So I know what our hints are going to be as we get closer in when they pull up the hints.
So we'll let that sit there for a little bit, and then we have them for later. I'm trying to come up with I didn't write the hints for this, so I'm just trying to figure out what kind of hint would you actually give for this. It's because the challenge, the structure of the challenge, in some sense, it's very straightforward.
Yeah, I know. Like, the goal is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
It's just a question of what stager, what sort of little shellcode payload are you going to use that's going to get you either get you unrestricted or read more or whatever it is that you're actually going to do.
Yeah. So looking at HypeBoy, going from HypeBoy over to MMM, we now have start to see a little bit of nukes. So they've created this helper function nukes to nuke out the whole range of the memory space. So this is very similar to what HypeBoy is doing, but they created a helper function for it here.
It's still not clear to me that do they realize the pattern of the nukes though? Because it looks like a sequential nuke range. Maybe they're aware in their head, but it's not like they've, for example, written something that can do a two-dimensional grid of nuked out values, and it will compute all of the.
Well. No, it is. It's just so you can see the nuke.
Right, it's just
there.
Over a single range.
It's breaking it up into coordinates there. You can see the offset, and then they do the modulo and the division. So they are converting.
I'm sorry, looking at nukes plural. You're right. Okay.
No. So the nuke singular is it's converting the single index into two coordinates, and then the nukes is doing this for a whole range.
Right, but my point is that's only going to give you sort of that line. It's going to give you both the main line as well as the above and below, and that's the part that I'm still waiting to see. I'm not seeing that as.
Right, so they're still kind of, it seems like they're doing very broad strokes, a bit of a crude. So maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're finding roughly the things they want, and they, get rid of other stuff, and then they try to,
Yeah, working it. So I will say, okay, looking at the hints, the first hint's going to do almost nothing. I don't think it's going to tell them anything. It's basically going to give them a minor hint in terms of they don't need to check each time. Essentially, it's going to tell them they can submit lots of nukes at the same time, which they already know that. So both teams are not going to get help for it. However, the second one is very explicit and gives them a hint about exactly our solution in terms of where a syscall is and how they might want to set up registers for it.
Yeah.
So it lays out at least one solution that we know works that could be followed. So it's a pretty explicit hint, but they might not need it either because they solve it beforehand or because they have a different approach. Like I said, this is definitely one of those. There are a lot of possible solutions. Almost certainly there's a lot of solutions in this payload.
Absolutely. I was hoping to see. So I think what you're seeing in the debugger output in the bottom right is the resulting shellcode after the test. You can see a lot of knobs, and then you see there's like a push and then an ADC instruction. So like they are getting.
I think they're stepping over. Yeah.
But if we do check over to HypeBoy, they are. Again, doing these like various ranges of opening up, and then you can see there. I think they have this small little stager shellcode that they are aiming for, right? Like those 4 instructions.
But again, I just don't know that those instructions are going to be. Let's see, where was it? Yeah, if we can get back to their code and take that. And now again, we very well could be wrong. They may have a completely valid thing, and it may be in the buffer, and so it's.
Let's think about this for a second. Let's say you would want to do we just don't want to do a read syscall and with the destination being like right after in the shellcode,
right?
So you would need to set like the syscall number.
Yep.
You would need to set the destination buffer, the source file descriptor, and the length. So you have 4 registers that you need to set up, and then you would need to do a syscall. So at most 5 instructions.
Depending on what the current registers are, which is what we saw earlier when Jimmo was looking at the current debugger state at the moment of the shellcode.
Right, so maybe one of these registers already have a favorable value.
Yeah. Or you could just do like an exchange instead of like a, which is a single byte opcode, right? So being able to swap 2 registers, you can get that singly.
Yeah. Of course, then there's also the case where you can get more than 5 instructions because maybe it's too much to do like immediately, just like a move with an
intermediate.
Yeah, and then maybe you get too convenient instructions.
So I am seeing, so HypeBoy over there has a couple of opcodes in the middle of their payload that they're looking up. So if they, but again, it's just interesting. It's not a single instruction that you have to run, right? It's because you can't assemble like 5 bytes with knobs in between that are all parts of an instruction.
No.
Immediate. Like you really have to get contiguous bytes so you want either small opcode lengths. But I definitely see, so let's watch this again. If we see with this scrolling up, they're looking for, there we go, they've got a 5.7, okay. So I think they do. I'm really looking forward to kind of keeping an eye on this. I'm going to go back and look at that. They've got some single byte opcodes I think they're going for. So I do think they are trying to create.
Right, you can see they're in the middle of the NOP block. They have the 5F
from earlier, and they've got a couple, there's a 4.7 that was earlier up. So they're keeping a couple of these things handy.
So I'm just trying, they're tabbing out so quickly, but it looks like most of the instructions they were going for were single byte NOP codes. So that's really, NOP code.
If opcode. It's been that long of a competition.
There's some terrible noise going on in this room, but
I think the contest room is literally being disassembled around us. A lot of the other contests are actually ended and being kicked out of the space.
Right.
Only CTF here in our little particular corner.
Yeah, I hope that sound does not come through on the stream. It's like someone going with a not a drill, but a
impact hammer. Or impact
driver. Like a screwdriver.
But it's a particular kind of driver that actually hammers it each time too.
So anyway.
Okay, and I've seen the same thing over there on MMM where you see there's a bunch of knobs. There's a couple of so they're definitely building their payload stuff. We got a Pop Party. There we go. Pop Party Eye is exactly one of those. That might get you what you want, depending if they have a push earlier, right? So
or like if there was already something convenient on the stack.
Exactly. So those are both possibilities.
So, for example, because if it's a call instruction into the to the shellcode, you will have you'd
have the return address.
No, which is not really that important.
Right. Well, but you might just be able to pop twice, for example. You might be able to pop one into a register and ignore it, and then do another pop, and then actually set it. Maybe if there's other things higher in the stack.
Maybe the address of the shellcode area is on the stack, and you can, if you pop a few times, you get that, which you then would have as your destination buffer of your read call. So that could be an approach. Wow.
I do think it is funny. We saw this last year as well, too. The further we get in the bracket, the harder it is to commentate because they're so darn fast. They just go at blazing speed.
We should have like a button that temporarily slows down.
We need to be able to pause and freeze frame, actually. Let's go back to HypeBoy real quick because we're getting we saw their same buffer briefly. They're building their payloads. And I'm wondering, we've got this LAN, this 16 down here. Okay, so the 16 I think is there. Oh, is that it? So the LAN of 16, I assume, is if they've got their 16 bytes of shellcode that they want to run afterwards, they're checking the length. So the argument that they want to set is 16.
Right, for the read.
So I think I think both of them look like they're actually basically doing the same thing. It was sort of our solution.
Very, very close.
I don't know for certain, but it absolutely feels like they're both very close, right?
Yeah.
Like it's hard to kind of track it.
Yeah, so we can see here single stepping through the.
There we go. Dump all the bytes.
Yeah, dumping it
All
out.
nops.
Checking more. And
Just all knopped out. This is what happens when you nop. They are 10x reverse engineers, Adrian. See you in the chat there. Yeah, they are very, very, very fast. Okay, what was the byte? Scroll up again. If they saw it, I couldn't. It was too fast. So they've got to step a bunch. You probably want to like step 10 times or something. Oh, and now we're going off the edge of the page. Okay, there's a bunch of null bytes.
Yeah. Though you seen that instruction before, the add with the AL.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is no longer code.
There we go. Push RDI.
Push RDI.
Okay, so we've got a push.
There was something else.
There was a pop
RSI. So
okay.
moving
so
from
moving registers, and then pop RDI again. So they've saved maybe RDI, then they're going to.
So what is the, you have the syscall in racks.
There's a syscall. There's a syscall at the very end. Okay, so their buffer has it. If they've done the arguments correctly,
okay, look
this
again. Look
could
at
be a
the
solution.
No, they scrolled. I don't see the register. So RDI is there.
So they're at the syscall,
but we don't have. So RSI. Is it RDI, RSI, RDX? Is that the
64-bit calling?
Right. Yeah.
There we go.
RDI, RSI. No, sorry. I think those are the registers of interest here, if I don't misremember. Plus the RAX for the read.
We've got I don't know. We've got an accept over on the other side too. This.
Yeah.
Ooh. In the debugger.
Right.
Hold on.
Maybe
I think we're going to each have to watch our respective screens.
Yeah. So I'm watching here over.
So close. You watch MMM and I'll watch
Yeah, this
HypeBoy.
is so close. So they are now doing a send with the generated shellcode from Pwn Tools, and this is, oh my God.
They've also got to compute the offset they're going to want to write the bytes to, or they're going to have to nuke the rest of the string.
Switching he had the wrong shellcode because he hadn't set the the Pwn Tools generator, because he didn't set the context
the architecture,
on the 64.
Yep, there it goes.
So it was the wrong shellcode, and now he's getting the remote.
Oh no, is it this close?
Yeah.
This could be it. This could be MMM
could very
for the
much
win.
be it.
This
could
might be
MMM keep going and winning? And
is this going to run live?
Oh my God, it's running. Is this going towards the remote? Do we have a shell? No, he's now adding the port. Okay, so he did it. I think he did it locally. Got the shell right, and now I think he's running it against the remotes. We might have the end of the LiveCTF. So we have submitter, and is it? No. Okay.
All right.
So
that was nerve-wracking.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So
there's something that didn't quite
something isn't
work
quite there.
Yeah.
Now, was the difference between? Did it work locally? I don't know if I ever saw a shell locally in the Docker. So there's now some troubleshooting that's going to be going on there.
Yes.
And I'm not seeing us quite as close still over on HypeBoy. Watching their screen, they're still working through a couple of bytes. Whether it's because they're moving their payload, I'm not sure yet.
Switch over to HypeBoy and check there.
Still calculating bytes. Still trying to look for them in the payload.
Right.
Still calculating what to knock out. I think we need to keep an eye over on MMM.
Yeah, I'm gonna go switch back to MMM.
Closer. Let's
He's switching out the shellcode for like a cat etc password to get like a quicker feedback. And this, he's just repeating the shellcode. All this is, it's kind of like full-on panic mode.
Oh no!
With trying to get
try anything.
get it in there. No, it's, oh my God. So yeah, this is.
Well, a hint will do nothing to help.
No, the hints. No.
It says we can't figure out what's the problem with this.
No, I mean they both have
know
it.
everything.
Yeah. So this is going to be. This is going to be so. Oh, is he using some kind of gadget? And let's see. No, but he shouldn't be using any. Interesting. A bunch of reads. So trying to figure out, I guess.
Tracy to figure out, are they getting?
There was an open. It was an open call to it's the password, right? So it seems to be working.
They should be able to run.
So he has. Doesn't mean he has a local.
Running submitter 2 in there might even be enough.
Oh yeah.
It could also be a difference between local and remote. Although, are they using?
I was trying to see if he was using any but that would only matter for libc gadgets, which I haven't seen.
There shouldn't any be any of the payloads, right? I can't think of any differences.
So yeah, that's. Not entirely sure why it's not working. That must be so stressful for the players. Yeah. There was a syscall being made there. We can see in the ptrace, the strace output, and I mean they could. This is really the situation where you could have it within 10 seconds, or it could take another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Or even more.
And I'm just keeping an eye over on HypeBoy. We don't have to switch back, but
No.
just to give you kind of an update.
Yeah.
I almost, there's this long pause where HypeBoy or C2W2M2 kind of like looked at it and was just like, you get the feeling they're not sure if their solution is right. They actually just comment out a whole bunch of code, and kind of backing off and like starting from scratch because they've also run into bugs. They're not getting the payload that they want, so they're still working on the payload.
Yes, looks here like it's doing the wrong syscall. If I'm reading the syscall number is wrong. They're getting some 7F address instead of the syscall number. So maybe could it? I don't really see how that would happen, but could it possibly be that like one of the registers
it
has
shouldn't be a different state.
No, I mean it shouldn't be like we're
I can't
running.
imagine why that would.
Yeah. It's very very interesting, but. No, there was a syscall 0, so I think that was fixed. So now it could really be. Looks like he's swapping out the going back to shellcode, rerunning that. Sorry, like shellcode that pops a shell, and
nothing yet from HypeBoy. Still kind of
we're still gonna keep it here on MMM and see.
Looks closer now.
Get it here now. It feels like they were kind of going back and forth. Remove the sleep. And making another attempt at this, and there's just something that's not quite.
Did we run our? I need to check our logs and make sure we ran our test script beforehand, because we've been ensuring every challenge was solvable by running a solve script.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go look in our own logs. I want to make sure we ran it. There's not any kind of bug in our infrastructure. I think we're good. We didn't do it. We did as our standards. We ran a test solve immediately before it. So our infrastructure.
Yeah. So we have confirmed that we have a reference solution that does work. Okay.
Just
good. I was always getting a bit nervous.
Like this, and then committed. And
because we have had our fair share of accidents throughout this event. Although I think in general it's been a pretty smooth rides, stressful here and there, but
other than random hardware failures.
The first day morning was not fun, but we are here and we
So HypeBoy still seems like they've kind of walked back their whole payload. They've been rebuilding it, and again, you can see their process is they're looking for the bytes that they want for their little simple payload. So there's their payload right there. Push RDI popper is like, what's this? We need to go back. Apparently, we're supposed to look at MMM. It sounds like we're close. We got a little update we needed to keep an eye over there.
Okay. I mean they are close. There's no question about that. But
right. I still think we're working through stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll keep you an update then on just HypeBoy what the solution is. Well, we keep an eye and make sure we don't miss anything.
Oh, they're just dumping in like a big NOP sled there, or like a NOP, maybe just like I was thinking whether it could be something with the read call and the difference in behavior with a local, like a local versus over the network thing with like packet, because the read, it will probably just give you, if you do one read call, it probably just give you from like a network socket, it probably give you just one packet, right? Or like up to that. So there could be a difference there on a read on a local versus over the network.
I do want to keep an eye out, because actually I think both of their payloads are identical. Actually, now that I think about this, I think they really have almost the exact same. So next time HypeBoy comes up, I'm going to try to take a look at it. But it looked like we were seeing the very, very similar push pop pattern.
Yeah.
Excuse me. They both knew the register state. They were both looking up for the. But we're seeing. So I'm just watching. Them do the same thing. They're kind of byte at a time extracting those arguments that they want to back out, knopping off everything else, and we have absolutely got the rest of the CTF ended. So that everyone is standing around the screens. They're watching.
There's a shell. There's a shell. There was a shell. So I saw. That must have been local, right? Yeah. Okay. So they have a shell popped. So now we're gonna see them.
Can they run it?
So wait, what are they doing? They had a shell. I'm now a little bit confused. Why? What's missing is...
They're looking for another gadget still, it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe they've got so push RDX.
Did they like cook that? And like, was that the reason they got the shell? Like maybe they did like a manual thing in the debugger.
Just to test if the output would work. Yeah, it's possible.
And now they're actually making sure that the payload is actually doing
3
this.
pops. RSI RDX is our I should take a picture of my camera. Get my phone out next time to do the freeze frame and all off. but it looks like they have slightly different payloads, so they're not exactly the same, because I'm seeing more pops over on the MMM side than what the payload is the HypeBoy.
So they are so MMM here has very, very conveniently written out their payload inside the exploit script.
It's nice.
So it's a push RDX, pop RSI. So they're moving RDX
into
RSI, and then they're doing pop RDI 3 times, so they're fetching something that's already on the stack.
It sounds like that pointer to the buffer.
Yeah,
right? We talked about that earlier. It's very likely there's a pointer to the buffer previously in the stack, and so they're reusing that.
And now they're bringing out strace again to double check that their payload is doing what they expect it to do locally. Now they're switching it to remote. Is that...
No, they're looking at debugger, though. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
No, they're still doing, like, if they've got...
Right, but they were switching the variables, like they were switching the host to the remote...
Why are they still on the strace window then?
Oh, yeah, okay. So now they're checking the other thing.
Okay.
Oh, I see that then there was the syscall number was wrong again there, if I saw that correctly. So this is, oh my God, this is very stressful.
I don't envy either one of them.
Oh, no,
Just
no,
the
no.
nerves
Yeah. That's really, and now they're doing some manual assembly finding. Oh, wait, they're finding. Okay, they're finding instructions inside the dumped blob of the challenge. They're looking for these some of these gadgets. Let's call them that. Yeah, and yeah, they're kind of also reworking their. Yeah, they're reworking their payload now, actually. So they're changing it up. So now we have a push RDX, pop RSI, and a push RAX and pop RDI. So moving RDX into RSI and moving RAX into RDI, but then you would still need to set the syscall number there. So we'll see how that will work out.
And I'm just watching over here as HypeBoy essentially is literally line by line, like trying to inspect each line of the output and then looking for a particular byte. They're not even using any tooling essentially. It's like the most manual process.
Right.
Let them like line by line, check for what the disassembly of a particular byte is.
Yep.
And then I assume they're trying to keep track in their head how many lines down they are, so they know the offsets of how much to not. But it feels very, it feels like the kind of thing where they thought they would be faster manually.
Yep.
And if instead they would have just written a script to like look for those bytes, knock everything else out.
Yeah.
They probably would have been done a while ago. But
it's always this thing, right? When you're in a speed setting, like do like manual versus automation. It's that I think there's an appropriate XKCD comic about this with like the graphs and the speeds. So like you know,
there's an inflection point where it's worth it and it's not.
Right.
You don't know until it's too late as to whether you did the right thing or not.
And that's.
I will say it is much easier to read MMM's exploit with their nuke script versus the multiple lines that we're seeing in.
And that's
in HypeBoy. So let's flip back to MMM.
Yes.
Again in there.
We're seeing some read calls now. And now there's a shell there. Oh my God. So now they managed to switch up the payload a little bit. They managed to fix that up. Then now they're throwing it against the remote server.
Here it is.
Let's see. What are they doing? Are they running it and running it and running it? We see. No. Oh, it didn't work. Okay. So they're switching the. They're switching the.
Cat the submitter.
Yeah.
It's not working remotely.
No, so you know what I think it is? You can see they were sending. They're sending like a very large NOP prefix, and I think it might be this local network, so it will get fragmented, and then the read call on the remote server will only return like a limited chunk of this. So I wonder if there's a syscall if they look for a syscall at the end of the binary. No, but there's a very
because then the distance between where they're writing is going to be smaller. They don't need to write. So they're writing as their secondary payload a very, very long buffer, right?
Yep.
If they shorten that buffer there, they don't have to worry about that packet difference.
Right, but I think...
Hold on. We copy submitter 2? Oh, they're looking for hints.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they're looking for hints. 800 seconds until sudden death.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So...
all right, we still have time for sudden death. The hints aren't going to help them. They know exactly what they've got to do.
Yeah.
The hints are not there. But like I said, just looking at that, my guess is, I think the problem they're running into is that NOT payload is, as you were saying, is too big because they're running into issues with latency on the network versus on the local socket and not being flushed.
Yep.
So I think what they need to do there is to shorten that NOP payload. If they bring down the NOPs and then they tighten up where the syscall is actually running from where they're writing their bytes into, right? So for example, maybe they'd actually need to add something to the if the pointer they're popping is at the beginning of the buffer, for example, instead of the end of the buffer, or I don't know exactly what they're getting the argument for the destination where the receive is, but it's too far away from where they're writing, which is why they're putting all those NOPs into it. So they need to like shrink those up and make them closer together to make that buffer smaller.
Or manage to somehow add to the
Yes.
so that it's reading further away, or if they could find a relative jump later in the payload.
Yes.
And then to still just put their payload in the beginning, and you would jump back to the beginning where their stuff would be picked up. The problem is, that's easy to reason about if you know that this is the issue. But maybe, this is something you miss, because so this is one of the...
and we're not even 100% positive that is the issue.
No, no.
This is our best guess, and I think it is. I think it was a good assumption.
Yes.
But so it is entirely possible that HypeBoy actually kind of comes from behind this sort of slow and steady pace as they're manually creating this still payload. And they're still working through it.
This has actually bitten me as an organizer sometime.
We've got a syscall, by the way, over here.
Okay, let's switch over to HypeBoy.
Back over here.
Yeah.
Because they do indeed have a syscall, and they're looking. They've got a break point.
Okay.
So they're setting their break point. Let's go ahead and see. They're looking at the register state at the break point.
Yeah. And I think there was a 0 in the syscall number, if I'm not mistaken. And then you see, and then you have the
so it's a syscall. So they are going to call their syscall. They're looking at the arguments to make sure they've got that set right. So what is?
They're checking at the contents. So they're checking what RDI is pointing at. Oh, those looks like...
There's a movie X0. It's pointing into main, so they're actually...
Yeah. Interesting. I'm not sure I entirely follow what's going on there, but definitely you can definitely see that it is executing the syscall. So that's very good progress on that part. Yeah. The problem is... still, if we look over on MMM side, that you have this big NOP thing, right? And this is not going to work. And I was, I was going to say that this has bitten me as an organizer, because I have built challenges and then tested them locally on my machine, and they worked perfectly fine. But then when we deployed it for the competition, because of this discrepancy, the challenge was essentially almost unsolvable.
Yeah. Now, speaking of which, I'm going to go talk to the production team and make sure that when we run our tests,
no, we do it from a separate from a separate
machine. Do we? Do we do it from a separate machine? I'm going to go ask, and we're going to make sure that that's the case, just because I don't want that to be.
Yeah, right. I mean, so you do that, but of course, in this case, there is definitely ways to do that, and. So I'm saying is that there's definitely ways to solve this anyway, even if this would be the case. But this is still very frustrating for the players. This must be extremely stressful for them. And
so not only are we running our test remotely, we're doing it right now in the competition. Glenn's over there. He's actually tested it. His payload still works. It works on the game infrastructure from another machine. He's not running the submitter, but he is able to verify that it's working. So there's no reason that
we are. I think we are not to blame here.
But it is still heartbreaking to be that close.
But I want to switch over to HypeBoy, and we unfortunately just missed it because tapped away. But what was going on there was I saw a much shorter NOP
They've started
prefix.
Again, look at the comments. They've commented out most of their lines that are doing the NOP end, right? Where they're kind of starting over. This is actually the second or third time I've seen them do this, where they kind of rethinking everything that started back over.
Yeah.
We should probably make sure that we have our sudden death just in case. Because not yet, but we have to have it ready.
I think they have about 10 minutes.
We still have another 10 minutes, I think, but at some point we need to
I
be
think it's 9 minutes or so remaining on the challenge, So it's really interesting to see here. But I think so he keeps switching it up. But unfortunately I think that as long as that thing, that long prefix is there, it's not going to work.
I'm just looking. We have about 8 minutes left, I think, until the official 50-minute mark, which is where we've been calling all sudden deaths. This is the last match of the day, though. I would hate to go to a sudden death.
Yeah.
But we do actually have a hard stop because we have to give these scores to DEF CON because they have to go into the final event.
Yeah.
So we'll have to talk that over and figure out what we're going to do.
Yeah.
If we get something. Then again, it was 40 seconds before. The sudden death the last time.
Oh my God!
It was an MMM that even did that.
It was not in the previous match, but the match before.
Not one before a previous match.
Exactly. And now they are bringing up the distributed libc as well, which is interesting. So I wonder what they're going to do. Like, are they trying to go for like a one gadget thing or something? But yeah, I think the fundamental problem there. Oh, sorry, I'm talking about the wrong screen here. Sorry, I was on over.
Let's switch over here to MMA.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So what just happened on MMSI was like, he brought up the libc would distribute this, and he was looking around. Unfortunately, I think there is this fundamental issue with the solution where like the payload, the secondary stage is too long.
Yeah. I think they're going to continue to run into that as well. So honestly, if HypeBoy can actually build their payload and they're able to target it more precisely, get it closer to the get where their code is being written to, closer to where that syscall instruction is actually being called.
Yeah.
That could be the win, but neither. I mean, yeah, it's hard to say. It's rough seeing that go from like a working local and it just not working remote.
Oh yeah, that must be like, if they lose this, that must be so frustrating. At least we have a plausible hypothesis about why this
particular payload's not working. And our particular solution is.
That's still, because otherwise it can be very frustrating as a player. If there is like something wrong with the challenge or something like this. But I think in this case it is actually completely fair. Like the read call is doing exactly what the read call is supposed to do. It's just that it's very easy to forget about this discrepancy between over the network versus local.
And there's no easy way to call another flush, right? To call flush again would actually be a whole nother syscall that they have to find and set up and do. So like
and it's not even flush. It's like when you're sending I think the read call on the server side will only read.
Would that do multiple reads then?
Yes, exactly. But then you would need to adjust the offset, and if you can adjust the offset, you can just do it immediately.
Right.
Yeah. So.
So yeah, they're definitely going to have to step back, take a look, and do a different payload though. And I am wondering, it's possible too that even if HypeBoy comes up with their solution that works locally, they run into the same problem. It may be that their first attempt does the same thing.
Yeah, that would be.
We haven't actually seen their shell code at the end yet, because they've kind of never gotten to the point where even they were able to get it working locally, unfortunately.
Right. And how are we doing on time? About 5 minutes or so left.
It looks like we've got about 6 minutes left.
Oh my God!
5.5 minutes before we are scheduled to go to. So I'm gonna go ahead and have a chat with Prod, make sure we're ready with. And I need to actually literally check with Nautilus Institute, because I need to know our hard stop deadline. Because we may have a hard stop where we cannot go later to report scores.
I want to switch over to MMM because I saw another shell pop, but as I said, that big large prefix is still there, so I don't think it's going to make a difference. And oh my God, I cannot imagine being in their shoes right now and having this complete stress of knowing you've popped shell locally in 6 different ways, but it's not working over the network. And unfortunately, the fundamental issue is still there. So this is, it's heartbreaking, honestly. And I really, I'm not saying that I'm rooting for anyone in particular, but it would be so devastating to be in this situation and then not manage to win. So I kind of hoping that they manage to get it through. But yeah, again, once you've kind of gone down the incorrect path and you're kind of locked into that, it's so very difficult to take a step back and go for a different approach, because you're sitting there and you're thinking if I just change this little thing, it will work. But I don't think it will, unfortunately, and this is causing problems here. So yeah,
we are queuing up the sudden death. It's not there yet. We just saw a screen a little bit on the screen. They were double checking the time as well.
Right.
I think we still have about 3 minutes left, but it's close, and we are going to queue it up. We are going.
Yep.
Well, unfortunately, I really would love to see the team solve this, but we do have to go with a sudden death, just because if they get stuck on this, we can't report a result, which holds up DEF CON, which holds up the main award, the main, decision. So
it's
a bummer, and I would love to have seen this one solved, but right now, although I am seeing
run line after, they're doing some more interaction here. adding another.
They're done with their not. Oh, so they're putting.
okay.
Oh, that's again. Yeah, they're doing the exact same problem.
Yeah,
the exact same problem. That not payload's way too big.
Is way too big. So
if we had multiple other QA testers and we had run into this, we might have known to put a hint earlier, unfortunately.
Right. So the problem was that the test solution from our tester was like not doing it like this, so they didn't hit this problem, so we didn't even think about it.
As an issue. If we had, we might have been able to give them better hints. So it's unfortunate, but it does happen. So again, we're about 2 minutes out from the sudden death, so we're preparing it, getting it ready on the server.
Yeah, it's not looking good. Unfortunately, we're still seeing these massive prefixes.
Wait, nope.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're throwing locally or remotely, but they had something they thought worked. They're just trying random NOP lengths.
Yeah, and
we're gonna need to post our solution on Twitter afterwards, so they know that it was.
Oh yeah. You know, I think I can imagine there being a certain level of frustration. You know, from the players at this moment, but
it happens. And honestly, I think we've had about one sudden death. 83 seconds left. I just on the screen right there.
Okay, yeah, that's.
So, HypeBoy's running it. No, I don't. I don't think either one. Wait.
Is very, very tough right now. Doing it remotely again. I think. Oh, now I think they're just going for desperation now. Now they're just. And I don't know. You would like to have to. I want to know, like, increase your MTU or something like this. I wonder if you could actually
that might actually be
because
a valid,
since they are on the same network, it's I guess that depends on the routers,
or not that they're on. Which it's a cheap generic switch, so I'm not sure if that would have been.
I think anyone is even going to think in that direction.
I don't think they realize that's exactly what.
I'm not even sure it would work, but they're not going to try that.
Okay, I think we're coming down to just the last few seconds. 20 seconds left before it's going to go.
20 seconds. We see some more S-trace output here. And it's truly.
Wait a minute, HypeBoy. What is HypeBoy doing? They're copying shellcode. Do they actually have a working shellcode? No, I don't.
No, because they still have the large prefix.
Unless there's something else that was wrong and different, I don't.
Unless we are completely wrong. Yeah, exactly.
If we're wrong and this works, then I don't think there's even enough time though. It's going to be real close.
So they have a shell there.
They have a shell.
So let's see if they can switch it to remote. But I think they're going to hit the same. Or no?
I know. I think their team saw the shell, but again, I don't think it's going to work. They're going to try it remotely.
Yeah.
And we're just about to go sudden death. Did he get it in time? Did he actually throw it?
Sorry, I'm checking.
We got to check our logs now. Did it actually happen?
Yeah.
No, we know, but it wasn't going to work remotely anyway.
Yeah.
He's going to have the same problem, I think.
Yeah. So, So we are going to go to a sudden death. I'm just going to go over to.
It wasn't going to work anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to go over to production and.
The crowd just realized the same thing. So yes, that is heartbreaking. At least let them know it wasn't going to work anyways, probably. Yeah.
We're going to have to explain that to the players.
We're going to have to let them know. We're going to get reset. We're going to put this down for just a second. Let's go back to the bracket just for just a second while we reset things, and we'll be back in just a few seconds.